Hey, welcome back to another episode of Radio 22's Talk 22, show hosted by me, your boy Mizzle to the Jizzle. We back yet again, bringing you conversations that you want to talk about, hit you with nothing but the real. We back yet again, bringing you just conversations that are, you know, so prone to so many, and too many people in this world have too many different things to say. So, we want to always address them when they come about. And one of the things that we kind of seen in culture most recently, there was a discussion that kind of came about on the podcast of the homie Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had a podcast where he was sitting down with the homie Freddie Gibbs. And in that conversation, they had a candid discussion about interracial relationships and how things work when it comes to dating outside of your race and whatnot. And the conversation got real candid. uh it drew in some names to some of the other black leaders out there, and some people took offense to it. So we want to get into that and see where your thoughts may lie on that. So I want to start off bringing in my heavy hitters like I always do. Out of the Madison area, I got the homie one of many. One of many. Can you say what's up to the people, please?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Yeah, like you say, man, it's a conversation everybody's been talking about side chat. So I'm just here for the brain food too.
Yeah, that's what's up. One of many. Can you let the people know what your background is and what you work out of?
Oh yeah. So again, thanks for having us. My name is One of Many. I represent a brand called Less Work Lifestyle. It's an acronym. It means less emphasize self-service with optimistic resourceful knowledge. And our target is mobilizing local independent hip hop artists to use their talents and services to sustain a lifestyle locally. We operate out a hub called 1444. It's the address on East Washington. We do music, we do photography, we do social media hosting, we do custom apparel printing, and event planning. The goal is to Netflix the entertainment slash music industry. We're offering subscriptions, so local artists don't have to worry about their overhead as much as they
Mhm.
art that they kind of produce. And we want to have a 24-hour spot that they can go to because as local artists, we still have day jobs, night jobs, whatever, but we need a space where we can link up and be creative. So that's what we represent.
Man, we appreciate your brand as well, the work that you put
Well,
in there, brother.
thank you.
Thank you for joining the show. Last, also, we on the show. We have the homie out of the Dubuque. Is it Dubuque, Iowa area? The homie Larry Jackson.
Between both cities, but primarily in Dubuque going forward, and then we're going to end up transitioning to Madison actually this upcoming year. So, mental health counselor, represent Black mental health. Follow me at www.j4bg.org. Um, yeah, promote Black mental health. So, been doing mental health for the last 10, 15 years, and got a couple of books on the way. So that's coming soon as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll look out more for from the brother Larry Jackson as well. Um, Also on the show we have the homie Stan Perry out of the Illinois area there. Stan, can you say what's up to the people, please?
How you doing? How you doing?
Hey, can you tell the people some of your background and some of the things that you've worked on?
I used to do audio engineering. I thought I was a rapper for a little while. I transitioned from that to video production, and then that was doing music videos, and then I started doing weddings. I did like 300 weddings. I think I'm technically retired, uh, as now I focus on being a father and better husband.
Word, that's one of the toughest jobs right there. But you can also find Stan doing a podcast of himself where he sheds a lot of light on what is it, financial
Oh, the
branding,
crypto. I do.
crypto.
I'm part of the crypto morning show. I wasn't going to mention that, but yeah, I analyze crypto and do stuff like that.
Okay. So look out for the brother as he's doing more stuff on the crypto brand as well. So we appreciate everybody for joining the program as well. So we want to go into the subject matter. As we looked at it, there's been a lot of dialogue when it comes to things, when it comes to dating outside of your race and whatnot, and interracial relationships and whatnot. And I want to kind of touch upon that and ask the panel. I'm gonna start with you, Stan. You know, it's 2021, right? And I want to just know, are you still at this point considered to be a sellout or what have you to your race if you are dating outside of your race in 2021?
Well, there's a difference between dating and marriage. Like, if I never understood dating, like, at a very, at a young age, I've technically wanted to get married. Like, I was happy to get married to the right person. Like, that wasn't it wasn't a questionable thing. Like, I never was like, all my friends were like, I got this girl and that girl. I was not really trying to get as much girls, but I was like, like I would ruin chances to have sex with a female because I would ask them too many questions that led to marriage. Like if I asked them about who they were, what their mental health was, and like, I see stuff, I couldn't date them. All of a sudden now I'm weird because I asked them leading questions about themselves. So to me, if you're talking about dating, that might be a social contract of where you're from. Like, like if you live in the north side and you don't see a lot of white people, I can understand how they view interracial dating differently than if you were on the east side of Milwaukee. Like in Chicago, it's not like known to do that. Like it's very mixed in Chicago, or you go to New York, they don't really do that. Like Puerto Ricans and blacks and whites, they mix there. There's a different mixing. But like if you're in Alabama, don't date no nigga. Like I can understand that too if you're coming from the construct of being only around seeing a certain type of race. Saying that might lead you into thinking you can't, a human being is only what looks like in the mirror. Does that make sense?
Most definitely.
Yeah, that's my answer.
Okay. Appreciate you for that. We want to go next to the homie One of Many, and we want to get his idea on that. This is 2021, and we are years past where we were maybe back when we first came to this country and whatnot. And I want to know from you, do we feel like it's still like going against your race or what some might find a sellout or whatnot to go against your race and date outside of your race? Do you feel like that's still a thing in 2021?
Man, what Jeezy say? We keep that white girl, Christina Aguilera. I just think no. To be honest, it's just gonna lead into what my answer is. It's like this. 2021, the culture is more accepting to that. I would say option to be able to date outside your race. Jungle fever. It's not even a term no more. Nobody use it. Sellout. I don't think people say sellout as often when you date outside your quote unquote race. So what I would say is this, my personal thing is I'm all for building my black race, if you will, my black culture. So me personally, I don't date outside. I don't date outside of it, but I don't promote to say like it's what you should be doing, right? Because I'm aware of, like I said, the social acceptance of what people doing nowadays. So I would say, no, to be honest, don't fall into the smoke and mirrors of that conversation. But in America, the reality is reproduction, right? At one point, you can date outside your race, but you going want to, settle down and see what you can create with this loved one that you have discovered a love for. So the blood is spilled in America. So it's like, how do you prepare your seed for the best and the worst of both worlds? I mean, we're talking black and white, of course. Now it's like, to bring a child in the world where their history is on both sides. It's like it was the evil, and then the one who was done wrong. So it's like, how do you battle your blood? So it's something that I would think of. You know what I'm saying? Like the reproductive state, the history of America, black and white. So it's just more about the realities of what we face. It's like, yeah, you want to get past certain things, but job challenges is still a challenge for black people in America. So it's not like we can't see it's a common thing where it's those versus the have and the have nots, black versus whatever race. Uh, we can go a lot of places with this. But my personal opinion is to each his own. That's what I'm saying. But it's things that do come with dating outside of the place that you come from.
Okay. Thank you for that one, Manny. We want to ask, last but not least, LJ, we want to get your take on it as well. And we want to know from Larry here, based off of, years past, it always came into the culture that if you dated outside your race or whatnot, you were always looked at as being, almost going against counterculture. And you almost like going treat, it's almost treason to go against your race and to date outside your race. Do you feel like we're still at that point here in 2021?
Just depends on who you're asking. Unfortunately, we're integrated race. We're integrated in society, and in some areas where it's more predominantly white. What other options do individuals have but to date outside the race? Some people are left with no other option. Even in the therapeutic setting, I sometimes counsel single black women who are looking for black men, and they are committed to finding the right black male. There's the argument of where that comes more so from. I mean, we see some of the main figures like Dr. Umar, but really that I think that a lot of that energy, is really, how do I best say this? I probably shouldn't say it like that, but I think that let me frame it like this. I think that black women are more loyal to the concept of dating inside your race than black men are. And the idea of selling out, I would say, a lot of black men, at least from my perspective, don't have that same type of disposition that, from my perspective and from my experience only at this point, black women have. I've got four or five sisters, black sisters, and a black mother, and I can tell you that the energy of dating inside your race comes more from them than it does from the black men in my family, who, from the black male bloodline, the black Jackson bloodline, we date in and outside of our race. But the black females is a different story. And I think that there's a rhythm to that, with regards to who's defining sellout, right? Is it the majority? Is that energy coming from black men, or select black men? I think it's coming from select black men, but I think the majority of that energy is really coming from black women who are frustrated because they have a certain level of loyalty towards black men, and black men don't share the same disposition. So,
that's deep. Okay, I appreciate your thoughts on that, Larry. All right, so
could I add something?
Of course.
All right, so I was thinking about a story that I heard about when slavery ended. So this is like it's a real story, but I've not like fact checked it. So what they said was these white women were dating black men because they just were. And they were having, babies. And this is, you ever heard the term, the one drop rule?
Right.
So that happened because the slave owners were having sex with the women, the black women that they were enslaving. And then afterwards, how they got them to stop dating outside their race from the white, supremacy point of view was, so these It's hilarious. I forgot about the story. I would have mentioned it earlier. So what they were doing was they wanted to preserve their women to white males, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there were so many black male slaves that were, just freed. They were more, they were, big hunking strong guys. What happened was they were dating black men and they were having mixed race babies. So what they started to do with the Jim Crow laws was they were like, if you have a baby that is mixed race, then you lose your citizenship. That's how they were doing it to get white women to date white men. From a white supremacy point. And this is documented. I'm not saying the story 100% correctly, but I got the essence of it. You look at what I just told you, you look it up, you're gonna be like, wow, there's a big understanding of how that's the same reason. Remember when I told you about how we took over Mexico? We won the Mexican-American War. There was a Mexican-American War. We defeated Mexico. Why didn't we take Mexican land? Why didn't we take Mexico? Because they weren't white. They weren't white. And they didn't want to dilute the white culture by taking another race and bringing a whole bunch of Mexicans in here. That would have just exacerbated the problem. They already had African slaves and they had Chinese people coming in. They wanted to preserve the manifest destiny that they wanted. So when they say sellout, this is all coming back from these jealous white people, white men who couldn't control their white women, and they didn't want to mix babies because that would have just diluted their whiteness a lot earlier. It's deep. I'm sorry, it's deep. I forgot about it. I should have mentioned it earlier.
Okay, I've never heard that total concept that you stated, but I know in the days of slavery there were a lot of things that did take place like that, and that very much could be true. And I appreciate a lot of the comments I'm seeing through the comment section on a lot of our people, and it does talk about color and different things that some of you guys are talking about. And I do appreciate keep coming with these comments because we definitely want to continue to keep talking about that as well. But I want to go next to the actual conversation that we were talking about, and that was the conversation that the brother Freddie Gibbs was having with the homie Mike Tyson. And if we could just touch upon that a little bit, my producers could pull that up.
We got really awesome white ones too back in the 80s.
Yeah.
There were some good ones.
Yeah, white girls in the 80s was good.
With the big hair and shit.
Michelle Pfeiffer and all that type shit. Dr. Umar gonna get mad at us for talking about white girls.
Who's Dr. Umar?
You never heard of Dr. Umar?
He doesn't like white people or black people talking about white girls?
He don't like white people.
Huh?
He don't like white people.
So what's his problem?
I don't know, man. He's just a righteous black. I mean, he got some cool ideas, but
But if he have hate in it, it can't be cool.
That shit ain't cool. That part of it ain't cool.
None of it's cool. If any hate involved, it can't be cool. I don't care if it's dictation rhymes and it sounds right. It can't be cool.
I can't believe you ain't never heard of Dr. Umar. You should have Dr. Umar come on this motherfucker. That'd be tight.
I don't know. I'm not cool. I gotta see Dr. Umar's work and stuff.
He just don't like, interracial dating, man, which is stupid to me.
Yeah, Then who is he? Who is he to have that thought? Who is he to have that opinion? Make sure, man, and think that it counts.
I guess the nigga's a doctor. I don't know, man. Shit, I just be looking at shit, laughing at some of the shit. It's funny to me.
Yeah, I could dig it. I guess so.
Okay. So, I mean, that was quite a concept in a conversation that they were having. And they did speak on the brother Umar, and he kind of did not appreciate their conversation in that. So, from what we do know of Dr. Umar, he talking about Dr. Umar Johnson there. In his take, do you believe, one of many, that Dr. Umar and Louis Farrakhan and many others that share the same views, do you believe that their views on interracial relationship is seen to be racist in your mind?
I want to say black people can be racist at all. Races come with power. You got to have power and control of something to be able to be racist. So I would just say their views is based off of like the history. Anytime they speak of like black men dating outside of their race, it just draws back to like racism, slavery, things of that nature, where white supremacy. Um, it's like if you 9 times out of 10, uh, I'm not speaking on behalf of all white women or all black men, but based off my life experiences, black men are treated like trophies to white women. They are more like open to, I guess, things that the black woman won't be so accepted to. So it's more like certain things where if you trying to get up in a certain, I guess, corporate world or certain level of your life, is it a good look to have a lighter woman next to you on your arm? I guess in those areas, but it's more about like I don't think a black man can be racist. He can have views that was based off tainted experiences in his life. And to say don't date outside your race is direct. You know what I mean? But it's like, where is this stemming from? Where does this come from? Like, why is this a thing, right? So that's the deeper question. I don't have all the answers. And I'm more so like a student on this panel to the gentleman that's here. But like I said, my views is I wouldn't do it based off of reproduction state because I'm not just dating somebody. I'm looking to basically reproduce something that is 100% for one, and I want to be able to speak to their future. I mean, their past and their now and their future to come. So anytime where that will be a blurred area, especially here in America, it's like I don't disagree with Dr. Umar or Farrakhan. They both very educated brothers. I highly doubt Mike Tyson don't know who Dr. Umar is. But outside of that, no. I don't think it's racist. I think it's righteous. I think it's forward thinking. It's like we know what our disadvantages are and who hold the biggest advantages over our life right now. And it's not people that look like us. So I guess in some people's mind, dating somebody that look like you, if you black, you may not be leveling up. You may be stuck. You may settle. You may be settling. That's all mentality. So it's like I'm not telling people to change their opinion, but I'm also not changing mine. It's more about like looking at it from, I guess, both sides of somebody else's views. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he racist. I don't think I don't know. Freddie Gibbs seemed like he was wishy-washy though. His was like he brought the man up and then he kind of like, yeah, it's stupid to me. So it's like, I
Right.
guess I guess
He didn't really
he
stand either way.
he was rooting for Dr. Umar, but once Mike Tyson, he like a bully on that show. You know what I'm saying? Like it's Mike Tyson. He known for knocking people out. You not
Right.
finna go on there and just act like you finna like, man, you tripping, dude. You ain't know what you talking about. You not finna do that to
Right.
Mike Tyson. You have a certain type of respect. But I
Yeah.
guarantee you, if Freddie Gibbs wasn't talking to Mike Tyson, he would have had a solid approach on what he was about to say because it seemed like that was off air. You know what I mean? Like it don't seem like that was supposed to be on the show. So I don't know, but yeah, that's crazy. I'm gonna stick with my people though, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not racist at all. Like I just love mine because we have to reproduce. We starting with a disadvantage. We don't have much right now. So to go outside of that is not selling out, but it's like taking an elevator when you know you're supposed to be taking the stairs. It's supposed to be longer. I don't know. I don't want to force mine off, but like in my personal experience, it means more when we do it with the ones we started with. Period. We can do business with them. I'm not saying that, but it's like, yeah, he's not
Okay.
racist. We don't own enough to be racist.
I appreciate your insight on that, one of many. I want to go next to Larry. Larry, I want to get your thoughts on that. We all do. We've heard a lot of these talks from Dr. Umar or Louis Farrakhan and some of the others, black leaders in the black leadership there. And there's been a lot of talk and a lot of discussion on, dating outside of your race amongst these people. And I want to know from your thoughts, do you find these views or these teachings as racist?
Yeah, I ponder the term racist or racism to a degree. I think Minister Farrakhan has sort of broke it. I'm a huge fan of Dr. Umar Johnson and Mr. Farrakhan because they teach very solid Afrocentric values. They promote loving yourself and loving your race. I think that at the end of the day, I can hear their heart with regards to the passion for the love of ourselves, that we are so integrated in society that sometimes the perspective of what is beautiful and what is valuable gets diluted because we're around, it's just sociology and, being around people. When you're a small population and you're around a larger population, the larger population sort of has a little bit more influence with regards to creating, what is deemed acceptable social norms, right? So I understand. I can respect the kickback with regards to the fight to maintain a certain level of holding on to Afrocentric values that comes in the form of love, promoting loving your own race. I respect it. I respect the perspective in the sense that we all got diverse perspectives. Just as much as they're entitled to say, I love my race, and I think there's something wrong when you don't love your race, and this is my criteria. I think it's equally acceptable for someone to say that I love everybody, and I, and this is my criteria. Like everybody's entitled to their own opinion about it. I don't think their terminology with regards to believing that the black man or the black race we are the center of human civilization. One could say that per terminology, it could be seen as a bit racist, right? But it at its core is we love our own race, and we feel like, we can back up the claim that we are the center of civilization, that whatever we produce, it becomes mainstream. So I respect their disposition. I don't know whether I don't know whether I would call it racist in the terms of per se, hatred of another race, but definitely, what is the terminology that defines one who loves his own race and is willing to make, certain stakes and claims to show that level of love and lens of beauty and full acceptance of one's own race. I'm not quite sure what you would call that, but yeah. So I don't know whether I have a definitive answer. I think I don't know whether you would call it racism or call them a racist, but they definitely have a love and a passion for their own race, and they're very firm on their stance about it. So
okay, I want to ask you next, then, Stan. I want to ask you the same similar question. I want to know from you, if you are attracted to the beauty of your own race, is that racist?
Nah, no, absolutely not. But I have to go back. There were so many points that were made. I wanted to respond to all of them. What was the original question?
The original question was related to Louis Farrakhan and the brother Dr. Umar. I wanted to ask with them, I was asking, are their views towards interracial relationships seen to be racist?
No. And for one simple reason, like to a white person listening to Louis Farrakhan and Umar talk, or somebody that's outside of Black culture, it's like there's like we have inside jokes, right? Mm-hmm. We have jokes that once somebody outside of our culture says that joke, it becomes not okay. Like we can laugh at crackheads, we can laugh at the hood, but as soon as like a white person comes in and say, "Hey, look at the hood," and I get offended. Mm-hmm. So when he says we're not dating outside of our race and Black is beautiful, I'm a disciple of them. Does that make sense? So, like the first person to tell me in society that I was beautiful and important was a Black man. He came up to me and was like, "Do you know how important you are? Do you know how beautiful you are?" I never was told this by anybody ever. It was, and what he was telling me was to love yourself, because he saw that I wasn't. He saw that I was straying the wrong path. He was like, "Dude, you got to love yourself first." And this was like a 5%er, like who comes up to me and was like, "Look, you need to get it together, brother. You're tripping." So, now the point of white women dating black guys.
Mm-hmm.
Bit complicated, but I could break it down because I grew up in Waukesha. I grew up around all white people. So not all white women were into black guys. I used to use that. I was going to use that to my advantage. Believe me, I thought I was a slam all. I thought over there was Black Conan. But no, that's not what happened. It was certain type of women that were of a lower class or ones that were trying to take advantage to get to a higher place. But we'll separate the two. We'll talk about the class of the white woman that dates black guys. They're not like going to become doctors and lawyers, and they're gonna they might get a CNA job or get a job that's going to be a certain amount of a certain amount of money, but not really like real money. We're not talking about middle class. We're talking about like, you know, they're gonna have an apartment for the rest of their life. Yeah, they'll date black guys or they'll be in college and, you know, they don't got no money around that time. But are they marrying that black guy? Probably not. The ones that are the white women that are staying inside their race are dating because of money. They date successful white dudes. I watched it. I grew up. I know people from grade school to high school, the ones that everybody who got married. And there was a trend. These white women were marrying up. They were marrying people that were more successful. And if it was a black guy who was successful or a white guy, but it was just generally more white guys there, but they would just marry up. So now when you get to like, you can't just take the basketball, you can't take the white women at the basketball parties or the NFL parties and say, that's what white women think like. No, that's what those gold digging white women think like. They're marrying up though. That's the point of why these white women are marrying, like, why that dating, I don't know, fucking probably. You know what I mean? Are we going for marriage or are we going to fuck? Right. And then
Okay.
And then Umar, they just promote black unity. My other question was so quick, but I like.
Okay.
I thought Freddie Gibbs was hilarious. He really laughed at that. That was awesome.
Did you find you know, some who watched the video found that Mike Tyson and Freddie Gibbs, they used the word even they called those two cooning.
No. I mean, we're talking about a successful black man who could. Okay, so when Mike Tyson goes into the ring, we're talking about the most menacing human being that ever hit into a ring. He gets up there and he knocks somebody out. He's like having sex with whoever he wants to. Mm-hmm. Michelle Obama could be there. There's nothing stopping him. Like, he is now the most alpha male you've ever encountered when he comes off that ring. He can have sex with whoever he wants. If it's a white woman, he's attracted to whatever. He's a vicious dude. You know what I mean? And then Freddie Gibbs, like I'm not gonna say I know Freddie Gibbs, but I know people who know Freddie Gibbs, and I understand. So Freddie Gibbs' original manager is from Chicago, and I know his original manager. So Freddie Gibbs, and hearing stories about him and I've been around a lot of rappers. They don't care who they're having sex with. Literally don't care. They don't care. So we're taking a rapper's perspective and you're taking a boxer's perspective of if they're cooning. Mm-hmm. Nobody's gonna be like Mike Tyson, and nobody's gonna be like Freddie Gibbs. That's letting their opinion if he's cooning or not. You have to judge me first. I'm more. You have to judge somebody that's more closer to you than Mike Tyson or Freddie Gibbs. Does that make sense? Oh yeah, I'm gonna make fun of a celebrity.
It very much does. You know, I think the comedian Chris Rock once said it. He said, you know, it's hard to judge some of these people at this level because you're not deemed the same opportunities as them, right? Mm-hmm. If you was to be offered hundreds of women all the time coming after you,
I'd trip and fall.
You might do some of the same things that some of these people do, right? If they had that many people,
I would get body piled by the hyenas.
Right, but to be able to not have that many women coming after you, it's easier to maybe say, "Oh, I will fall back. I wouldn't even take all that," you know. But when you're offered some of these things and you put in the same position as some of these people, it's a little harder to say.
I don't run that fast.
I do agree with you there. Okay, so I thank you for going to my next point, though, Stan. I really wanted to touch more upon the conversation of what Dr. Umar actually did say, since they were talking about Dr. Umar. Let me touch a little bit of that. If producer can pull that up.
Let me ask you a question, Dr. Umar. Are you totally against interracial relationships?
I am totally against it, and I want to make sure you understand why. It's not because... Cut it out, Envy. Cut it out, Envy.
Don't do that, Envy. I'm having a serious conversation.
We have a name for it.
We
have a name for it.
Okay.
The snow bunny crisis.
Okay.
I am against the snow bunny crisis. And I want your white listeners to understand. Because people be trying to say stuff like, he's the black Hitler. I'm not the black Hitler. I am in no way interested in hurting or harming the life of any human, white, Asian, Chinese. I believe in respecting everybody. The reason I'm against interracial marriage, Envy and Charlemagne, is because marriage is an economic contract. It's an economic contract. Most women do not marry down in status. They marry up. And if you don't believe me, show me a rich white woman married to a broke-ass black man. Have you ever seen a rich white woman marry a broke-ass black man? No, you have not, and you never will. Because marriage ain't about love, it's not colorblind, and it is totally economic. So if marriage is an economic unification in a contract, how can we, who don't have enough already, give so much to the white woman and to white people who have already taken too much when we got all these black women out here who will never get married? Only 1 out of every 4 black women in America will ever taste marriage. And half of them who taste marriage will be divorced within 5 years. If you want to save the black family, you have to protect it. And in order to protect it, you have to be against interracial marriage. You can't say, I love the black family, but I don't have a problem with interracial marriage. Interracial marriage is eliminating the black family because it is not providing our women with enough available and able black men to be their husbands.
So you're
Okay. So once again, we want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth there. That was Dr. Umar's conversation on the Breakfast Club. I want to ask you, Wanamedi, based off of that conversation, he talked about it as marriage being basically an economic, political decision. I want to know from you, is marriage a political decision?
Damn, that's crazy. I don't know if I'm qualified to even respond to something like that. But I would say, yeah, in a sense, because you're taking on, like, you're taking on the lifestyle, you're taking on the debt, you're taking on a lot of the other individual, the credit, the bad shit, the good, whatever. So you're taking on a lot of this individual. So you can't ignore the economic aspect of a marriage. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna say it's out. So I mean that's a given though. So at this point, yeah, you know what I mean. But that's another thing with marriage too. Yeah. I would say yeah, you know what I mean? Like, to keep this like straightforward, I would say yeah. I would say yes. It definitely is.
Okay. Well, we thank you for your thoughts on that. Larry, I want to know from you, we looked at it much like what Stan's conversation was, how he talked about marriage. He said sometimes people will do it based to move up in life. Sometimes it's to, have that look, and to elevate oneself, I want to know from you, is marriage in your mind a political decision?
I believe Dr. Umar said it was a political and economic decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the direct answer is yes. I was thinking about this conversation. I was thinking about the idea that, I don't know about anybody. My assumption is because there's a couple of people who, if you're in a relationship, you understand the concept that you have to submit to one another, right? So the idea, when you look at the structure of a family, right? The role, when you start talking about marriage, then you got to you have to start breaking that down into what else that really means, right? When I say I'm looking for a wife, I'm not just looking for a wife. I'm looking for a potential mother. I'm looking for someone who is going to potentially either uplift me as a man. I'm looking for someone that I have to submit to just as much as I want to be submitted to, right? So when you look at all that's factored into a marriage, you bet your bottom dollar it's a political and economic decision, right? Because whoever you marry, they're going to either, bring you up or tear you down, right? Mm-hmm. And I think every man and every woman, when you're talking about looking for a mate to marry, you are looking for what is not only the social or emotional value, but what is the economic value that's going to be produced out of the situation, right? I think most rational people would. When you talk about the purpose of marriage and the purpose of reproductivity, the concepts of economic stability and like-mindedness become even more important, right? Because whoever you marry, that's the individual that's going to be raising your kids, right?
Right.
So we have to be selective, and when it comes to being selective, we can all agree that there's a difference between the way a Black woman raises her kid and the way a white woman raises her kid, right? Okay. So you go down that alley, you start asking yourself, is a white woman capable of raising a Black child the way a Black woman can? Some would argue yes, some would say it doesn't matter, but it's still a relevant question. So going back to your question, it's politics, but there are things beneath the surface that is the reason why it is a political decision. It is the effect of the politics on the family system. It is the effects of economics on the family system. And because that is important, then those particular topics become very important, imperative with regards to inheritance, passing down generational wealth. Anyways, I'm not going to go too far into it.
Okay, appreciate that. If you at home, if you agree or disagree with our panelists, please, we would also want to hear from you at home as well. So keep the comments going as well. We want you in on this discussion as well. But I want to move on, and I want to talk about, there was a similar situation where there was also another discussion that was brought to the panel just recently. I think within this last week, where one of the rappers, Sweetie, was having a discussion with the homie Too Short, and they touched upon some conversations that dealt with colorism. And I want to go into that video if we could.
I love interracial relationships.
Do you like interracial relationships?
I am from the Bay. Does that answer that?
Yeah, so let the people know what they can find in the Bay Area. Because I know there's a lot of Filipinos out there, and I'm half
Okay,
Filipino.
so when I leave out the Bay, from the Bay, as a youngster moving around, you would see a girl, she kind of fair skin, lighter skin, and she got a little hair and whatever, curly, straight hair, whatever. And you're like, hey, what you mixed with? And they would get offended. They'd be like, I'm black, I'm black. And I'm like, no, you definitely mixed with something. And they would get mad. But in the Bay, you could meet a girl before you can say her name, be like, hey, what you mixed with? And she'd probably tell you that her mama's this, her daddy's that. And mixed heritage women have always been my favorite. Like, I don't think I've ever fallen in love with a woman that wasn't mixed.
Really?
And the Bay did that to me.
Really?
Because it's something you get, I feel that way about life too. Like biracial babies are, you could take the two ugliest motherfuckers from different races, and they fuck and make a baby, and that baby just be beautiful. It happens all the time. It's laughing, but it's true.
Bruh.
You be like, I know y'all didn't make that little pretty baby. And you can see the features in it, though. You're like, but y'all did. I see it. True story.
Okay. So we want to go in on that conversation. I want to start with you, Stan. I want to ask, does praising mixed race people as more beautiful add to the colorism in our society?
First of all, never take advice from a pimp.
Hello.
You can't take advice. You can't take advice for somebody who you can't take I don't take advice. I don't take divorce advice. Like people who had a divorce, I don't take that advice, and I don't take advice from a pimp. Like he literally would take women and abuse them. A black woman, any woman. Like he is a predator on women, giving advice.
Let's be clear.
Is that not sunk in yet? Like, is that not the most obvious part of this conversation? We let Too Short give advice about the type of women he likes.
You're relating Too Short to like R. Kelly?
No, R. Kelly never did the.
I heard you use the word predator, so that's why I asked you that.
Yeah, no. I don't think R. Kelly was a predator. I think Too Short selling women is a predator. That's a predator. He's making money off of them. You know, R. Kelly just had a sex compound and he was worth a bunch of money that we can never understand the motivation behind those women. They would have took 1/4 of that and been happy in a polygamous marriage. That's what they were doing there. We don't understand that. With R. Kelly's situation is different. He just can't explain it. But I'm not defending him at all. I don't know exactly what he did, but I could definitely see all those women that interviewed him were like, I love me some R. Kelly. It's okay. We're all his girlfriend. I just didn't hear the other part. What was the question? Sorry.
Okay, so
Too Short. Being a
I
pimp
just wanted to be
distracted
clear.
the hell out of me.
You had a lot to say about Too Short, so I just wanted to be clear on how you're describing him.
Man, he's a pimp.
Okay.
I mean, has any women in your family been pimped?
Not me personally.
No, so you don't know what it's like to see one of your cousins become a prostitute.
No, not me personally.
Yeah,
no.
like I have one of my cousins prostituted his daughter.
Oh wow.
Like to me, like I understand I understand what prostitution and what pimping is. Like we're taking advice from a pimp. That's weird. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't care. He'll take your daughter and force her to have sex with as many people as possible for him to get paid. I don't care what he thinks about colorism. I don't care who he's talking to. Whoever he was talking to was going for clout. Her currency for that interview was to this currency was her fame. She wanted to be more famous. So she was going to interview Too Short because he's famous. He's famous for being a pimp. She didn't even think that through. But what was the question?
Okay. The question was, does praising mixed race people as more beautiful add to colorism in our society?
That's just because people don't love themselves. You love yourself, it doesn't matter what color somebody is. Like, do you honestly love yourself? Like when you look in the mirror and you see the person looking back at you, are you in love with that person? Is that the most important person in the planet? Is that person walk you through hell and high water? Did that person climb a mountain with you and take you down? Did that person see you at your lowest and then your highest? I love myself before I love anybody else. So I'm not going to go look at some designer looking baby, be like, oh, that's cute. That's like, you don't love yourself. It screams from where the root of you saying that comes from is not loving yourself. Not to say that you can't appreciate a beautiful baby, but to say that, oh, that baby's cuter than another baby. That's crazy. Like, what are you doing that for? To me, things are illogical. I think from a very logical point of view.
Okay. So
it doesn't depend on what society. I mean, you have to love yourself first.
So you really don't believe that? I guess I want to ask the next question to you: is do you believe that mixed race babies are cutest babies? To you, Stan?
I have 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
I would never ever I would never consider another child that I'm not responsible for their beauty characteristics. Mm-hmm. my responsibility as a father is my children, not judging. If I spend my energy judging whether a kid is cute or not, then I'm not doing my service to my wife, and I'm not doing my service to my kids. I'm not on the planet to judge other people's cuteness. I'm on this planet to be the best husband and father.
Right.
In that order.
Okay. Larry, I want to go next to you and ask that for original question. I want to ask, does praising mixed race people as more beautiful add to colorism in our society?
Yeah, absolutely. It's blatantly wrong. First of all, it just, when you start bringing in those topics like that, the way Too Short did, you could clearly see there's a lack of self-love there. And I would even say, I would dare to say self-hate with regards to his perception about himself as it relates to his attraction to women. Whatever we attracted to, that's a reflection of who we are. You know what I'm saying? So he ain't light skinned. He ain't mixed. No, really. Whatever you attracted to, that's a reflection of who you are. Is that a true or false statement? It's a true statement. If I like candy, then that's part of my characteristic. Does that make sense? If I like junk food, then that's part of my characteristic. We all know that I eat junk food when I say I like junk food.
Okay.
If I say I like fruits and veggies, we all know that I'm probably eating fruits and veggies because I just told you that's what I like. I just see long story short, to double back, whether you agree or disagree with the idea that what you're attracted to is a reflection of who you are. For me, let me put it in my personal opinion, is so the answer for me is absolutely that does. But my addition to the answer is it's a reflection that video piece is a reflection of self-hate right there. And like Stan was saying, is he ain't the best person to be getting advice from in the first place. Personal opinion. Are we talking about screwing somebody? Or are we talking about marriage? I believe Dr. Umar and Muhammad were talking about marriage. They weren't talking about screwing anybody. So I think that the video is not reflective of the greater topic at hand. The greater topic at hand is and I think Stan was right on point, is making a distinguishment between, are we talking about dating? Or are we talking about marriage when we're talking about finding the right mate? Because there's a difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you on that.
Yeah.
I want to ask one of many. I want to get your opinion on that as well. And I want to know, we've seen things like maybe Beyonce's blonde hair, certain maybe makeup that women might wear to make themselves lighter or brighter or whatnot. The presence of being more of a, lighter shade skin versus dark shade skin, and trying to brighten up your skin color. Do we feel like by praising mixed race people as more beautiful, does that add to colorism in our society?
See, like when you say like more beautiful, like we put more on it, like yeah, but like I think the materialistic part of the more beautiful is like the way a black and a white baby hair will come out, the way they skin will come out. Like we talking about the physical appearance of the person.
Correct.
Right? Somebody in there said beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Shout out my homie D Prue. He said, of course, like it's basically like a relative to white supremacy. So it's the people who designed the platform we plan on. So they tell you what's accepted and what's not. So the little small players who go out and pick and choose, they know the rules, they know the criteria. So now they're just playing based on what they had. These are the cards. You're either gonna get in or you're gonna get out. So yes, it does, but it's an intentional thing. Like This is, the Willie Lynch syndrome. This is hate yourself, love us more. And we're gonna put it in your face. We're gonna put it in the music. We're gonna put it in the schools. We're gonna put it in your lifestyle so it becomes socially acceptable. So it's like, if you know, you know. But these are things that's happening in the world. Remove yourself from the norm of doing these things like everyone else and start to see it for what it is. Call it that. And to be honest, I gotta go back to my homie Too Short, because I've never seen him smack a woman. I've never seen him do nothing outside of entertain people on wax. So I'm on the panel. So what was said about him, that's not a representation of myself. I don't think he's an evil person. I mean, I'm not following his advice either, but I'm not on here to bash his views, because what he doing has made a way for him to pay for his family and progress Black people. Because I just don't agree with the comments made about Too Short, but I don't follow his advice. Clearly.
Right. I think I can agree with you there. I definitely do see with one of the comments made by one of our viewers that R. Kelly was after the young babies, the young kids, girls under the age of 18. That truly, to me, is a predator, versus someone who may talk misogynistic on rap lyrics. One's living it, one's just rapping about, seeing things in the streets, But at the same time, I think there's a difference when it comes to predatory behavior. So I'm gonna say R. Kelly to me is more of a predator than Too Short.
Let me throw my opinion that
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
Is Too Short definitely, if he's not a predator, he's definitely got predatory music. Now, whatever, I don't, now because we all come from different backgrounds. I don't believe in doing things just to pay the bills. So that's not my thing. So there will be some blatant disagreements here with regards to values and how we promote things. And when you look at Dr. Umar and Muhammad, these brothers are very conscious about the values that we not only do but speak in our community. Mm-hmm. And so I also want to make a distinction as to why I say the things I say, because even though we may not see him being predatory, we can clearly see that his music is predatory as far as demeaning women, as far as promoting a certain type of disposition towards women. So I'm just gonna throw that in the mix there. That it's not just about doing; it's also about what you say and what you promote in your lyrics, which is a huge thing in the rap industry, right? What are we promoting, versus what we're doing, with the idea that music influences people, right?
It does.
Okay.
Does.
All right.
I appreciate your opinion on that as well. All right. One, we're talking about a advocator towards the advancement of Black people, and the other one we're talking about a rapper. So those are two different individuals, and we'll leave it at that. But okay, so I want to ask the last question to the panel here is, when we're talking about love is love, as we know, but can a person truly love somebody outside of their race and have true love for that person within your race? So I guess what I'm trying to state is, can a person outside of your race have true love for a person within your race? Is what I want to know. So I'm gonna start with you, Larry, with your thoughts on that.
Dr. Umar, here's where if you look at some of all the videos associated with Dr. Umar Johnson, you may run up on an interview with him, and I think it's a Roland Martin, where Roland Martin sort of challenged Dr. Umar's position on dating in your own race, citing that Frederick Douglass, whom Dr. Umar closely attaches himself to, as a matter of fact, that's what his academy is connected to, even in label, that Frederick Douglass, in fact, did marry a white woman. So, and so I wholeheartedly agree that an individual can love himself and still date and marry outside his own race. I think that both, but I also believe that if the black man is being strategic and he's really and he is strategically thinking about how to influence his family system, again, passing, with regards to his legacy, his children, that part of his strategic plan, is to consider, whether the color or the skin color or the culture of the person that he's marrying, what type of influence he wants to have on his children, even with regards to self-love. My personal disposition, I don't know whether with regards to it, not just my personal disposition, I don't know whether I would be able to successfully date a white woman with the idea that I want my kids to love being black. Right?
Okay, but let's not leave it at a white woman. Let's say it's a Hispanic woman or an Asian woman.
Absolutely, but it's the same challenge. Is all I'm saying. It's the same challenge, right? As far as and everybody's entitled to their how they identify, right? And what identity that they want to promote, not only for themselves but for their offspring, right? Mm-hmm. And so you still have the same challenge as far as asking, based off of how I identify, how do I best select the right mate that's going to help promote or amplify who I am to future generations, right? Like that is, again, when we do African American men, because we just panel with African American men, we don't have a woman on the panel to talk about the woman's side of it. I heard somebody in the comments mention that, but I don't have that side, so I'm not going to speak on behalf of black women. But as far as the African American man, and let's say I'm thinking strategically about how I select my mate, that may be one of the factors I consider. Is how culture will influence my kids with regards to how they view themselves.
Okay. I appreciate your thoughts on that, Larry. All right. That's your answer.
That's my
answer. I appreciate that. All right. We want to go next to Stan. Stan, I want to know from you. A lot of time when we look at the love for a person, love comes with understanding, correct?
Yeah.
So part of what gets discussed in these conversations is, can one truly have a true understanding of the other person if they don't come from their background, if they don't come, with the same similar interests or whatnot? So I guess the question is, can a person outside of your race have a true love for a person within your race?
So I'm married. I have 5 kids. 2 of the kids were with a Mexican woman, and 2 of the kids are with a Polish woman who's about to have a third. I'm about to have another baby.
Congratulations.
She decided that was a good idea. Okay. So I also been married for 10 years or more than 10 years. So that's why I say I don't take divorce advice. A lot of people try to give you advice and I'm like, were you divorced or have you been married? It's kind of hard to take advice from somebody who doesn't know anything about what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. Like what Larry said, I don't know if you're married or not, but culture, I wish I would have thought of that a long time ago. I didn't think of culture. I didn't even understand what culture was of another person's culture. I fell in love with the person. I fell in love with the person first, and then culture and economics and all that stuff came after.
Religion, everything.
Yeah. And I dealt with a whole bunch of stuff that me being a loving person of myself, and I love my wife, and me and her made a decision thick and thin. Like, I'm never going to, no matter what anybody says or does, we're going to be married. We're going to have the best marriage or the worst marriage, but we're going to be married for the rest of our lives. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never stepping away from marriage. I'm only going to be stepping towards you. I'd rather leave my friends, my parents, my society to be a better husband than to, try to placate somebody. Like, I wouldn't placate a person race baiting to be a worse husband. Like, oh, you're only supposed to marry your race. I'm like, no, I am married. So, when they, you have to bring back the question.
Okay. The question once again is, can a person outside of your race have a true love for a person within
They
your
can't
race?
find true love unless they truly love themselves. So I could truly love my wife for exactly who she is. And another thing about race, it's okay. So it's super weird. She's Polish. She was born in Poland. One of the first conversations we had about race was she comes here. We were talking, and I came up with race came up as an issue, right? And I was like, so I said something about white people, and she laughed, and I was like, I thought it was weird. So I, said other white jokes, and she laughed. I was like, why are you laughing? I'm like making fun of you. And she goes, no, you're not making fun of me. I'm Polish. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, when I came here, it was the first time I've ever heard somebody say I'm white. She goes, when I came to America, it was the first time she's ever heard somebody say I'm white. Because in Poland, they don't do that. In France, they don't do that. In Italy, they don't do that. This is an American concept. This is not like a concept from, you know what I mean? Like, this is an American concept. We are marketed to say white people, black people. This is an American concept.
We will focus on race as opposed to ethnicity.
Yeah, no, it's so somebody said we're all the same race. I'm like, yes, we're all the same race, but we're very different cultures. Like, you know what I mean? Like, North Side culture is different from South Side culture in Milwaukee. Like, there's the culture of the middle class. I live in a middle class neighborhood. The middle class people that they're going to put me on the board of the HOA. Like, they're different from the people I was hanging out with on 40th and Hampton. I knew the same amount of neighbors, but there was a different conversation. It's different. Does this make sense? So, and then about the colorism, I have to just go back to, yes, you can find true love. Yeah, that's possible. I'm a living proof. I'm never going to get a divorce. I don't take divorce advice. Black people, so black people, they were saying about the colorism, black people have all the attributes of the human race.
Okay.
Everyone. Blue eyes, green eyes, dark hair, straight hair, long hair, red freckles, red hair. Every attribute of the human race is in black people. So they can't be trying to be like somebody else. They can't. It's just impossible. Our hair goes straight. It goes curly. We go tall. We grow short. We're light. We're dark. We are everything. And I'm not saying that from a racist point of view. We're just everything. It's a known attribute. It's not unknown. You know what I mean? And then when it comes to culture, yeah, the cultures are different. There's so many different cultures. Asian culture, Hmong culture. Like, in Hmong culture, they marry at 15, 14. I went to school with every Hmong every Hmong and Laotian person I went to school with, and there was like dozens of them, all got married at 14. Arranged marriages. Was that was that bad? You know what I mean? Okay, now about the colorism in Mexican, you might not understand everything about the Mexican culture. So Mexican culture, I grew up around all Mexicans, right?
Right.
And all the Mexicans I grew up around, they were all dark-skinned. When I put Univision on for the first time, I saw all light-skinned Mexicans. I was like, they're all white people speaking Spanish. They put all the light-skinned Mexicans on TV. Same thing with Asians. You go to Asia, you're going to see dark Asians. They're dark Asian. Most Asians are dark. They just show light Asians on TV. And that's what we're getting brainwashed into thinking colorism. Because, the same thing with, sorry, what was it? The one that said that I was, I agree with you on R. Kelly. Sorry, I was wrong. I stand corrected. The comic section corrected me. You corrected me. R. Kelly's probably a predator. I don't know for sure, but I'm not gonna go defend that. I'm not gonna die on that hill. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, when it comes to colorism, we're brainwashed into doing that.
Okay.
That's not us. Who's paying for Too Short? Okay, Too Short did Too Short or any rapper who's talking about murder and guns and killing their race and promoting self interracial violence. Because they didn't say when was the last rapper that said, yeah, motherfucking, I'll shoot a motherfucking white person.
I don't know.
Is that going to be in the top 10? And I
can
bring up the lyrics to the top 10 right now, and he's going to say, "I kill a nigga real quick," and they're putting billions of dollars behind that message. But they're not putting $1 billion. Oh, I'll kill that white person, black person. You fucking took your land. They ain't doing that. You know, fuck these hoes is basically saying don't respect black women, and we're gonna take Jay-Z saying that for 10 years, but it's okay. He's married to Beyonce now. Like, you know, like we can't just ignore what is being promoted and propaganded to the black people, to everybody. Okay. They're teaching white people to teach black people how to act. Hey, you're supposed to be pimping. You're supposed to be disrespecting women. You're supposed to be fucking all these hoes. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what the rappers are doing. Why don't you do what the rappers are doing, black man? You're supposed to be like that same black man that I've seen on every TV station and every radio station saying that's what you're supposed to be like. It's Kool-Aid. They're just dousing champagne. It's Kool-Aid to me. I didn't see no difference.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your thoughts on that, Stan. I want to give one of many a chance to answer as well.
Sorry,
you answered three questions at the same time, so I appreciate that.
I'm good like that.
One of many. I want to give you an opportunity to get your thoughts on that final question. The final question, you know, we talked about the understanding comes with love, right? And having the understanding and sharing that same understanding of what that person's been through. That's why your family loves you, because your family loves you because they have an understanding of who you are as a man. They know your background. They know everything that they could come about you, you know, and that's why they have that true love for you, you know. So my question to you is, can a person outside of your race have a true love for a person within your race?
Okay, look, all right, that's a loaded question. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody responses are opinionated, right? Like, all right, but here's what I'll say to that. Nobody asked to be here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you born here, you really don't have a choice of the culture you're going to be raised in, right? So you adapted to what you saw in your household or what was on your TV screen. You know what I'm saying? So it's like nobody really know. You know what I'm saying? Because like my man said, Stan, he said, you know, I wish I would have known about, you know, culture before then because I fell in love with the person, which makes perfect sense when that's your mental capacity. But yet, if this is brought to your attention at 3 years old, you sponge this information where you become like aware, right? To be aware is to be alive. So it's like at this point, nobody's really to blame, right? We're all products of our environments, but we just trying to figure shit out, right? So it's more like, yeah, they can, right? Like everybody say, you gotta love yourself first. So if you love yourself, yeah, you can, you know, honestly reflect your love off on somebody else, but like love and to know and to be able to relate, that's gonna take more time. You know what I'm saying? So you can't erase the upbringing of a lifestyle, right? The history is already there. So it's gonna intertwine where you're gonna have conversations with your significant other if they're not the same, you know, was in the same area, because you know we using the term race loosely, right? If they're not in the same race, it's more like a disconnect. So the arguments will happen where you just don't understand, you just don't get it. But what are you really saying? You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's the reality of what that is, right? Yes, you can love them, but it's always going to be a disconnect. You know, but I mean, these guys, you know, mental health, you know, damn near therapists. So it's like in the way where I don't know the word for it, experience will lead you to, you know what I'm saying, these answers that I'm giving, right? Because I'm looking at it from the outside, right, without trying to like reflect my opinion. It's like I said, I didn't ask to be here. You know what I'm saying? So now that I am here, I'm gonna look around, I'm gonna see things. But if my parents or my guardian hasn't given me the tools to be able to make these conscious decisions, then it's not their fault either, because maybe theirs is not there, right? But it's like we just got to understand that a lot of things will be trial and error for you to get this shit right, bro. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you can love anybody, bro. Like you can, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say you can't love nobody, bro, but you really need to like do more like looking into things. You know what I'm saying? Because once you know, you can't never unknow. You know what I'm saying? And the truth to set you free, bro. So just whatever your truth is, whatever like your love, whatever your interest is, go for it. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta look in the mirror every day. You gotta deal with them thoughts in your head when ain't nobody around. Like this your life. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't lie to yourself because it's mental, you know, but man, love is love. I appreciate everybody for listening. All the people that, you know what I'm saying, we reached out to. Y'all came on your comments. I'm gonna definitely go back and review this. I'm gonna tap in too. We're gonna answer some more of the questions in the comments because I think that's important because this a limited time that we have, and it's like the question up there, but like we got pre-made questions already. So it's like we got to get to our questions, but it's like damn, like they was engaged, and it's like they answers was good. Like damn, if y'all rock with us like this, we won't even need to prepare questions. We could just start answering what y'all gonna say on here because it was good, bro. Like they do this.
I totally agree. But I definitely appreciate our comment section today. Like he was saying, you guys lit up the page, and we appreciate that. And we definitely going to go in and address some of the comments that we didn't get to on the show. But we did run out of time, unfortunately. So we want to thank the panel for joining. Once again, we thank you, Larry. Larry has some things popping in the Madison area with mental health. So please look into his situation. You can find him at www.j4bg.org and look for him. As well as we thank you, one of many, for joining the show. One of many you can find on Instagram with _less work or at one of many. That's one NEOFMANI. You can look out for him and his Less Work brand. And last but not least, we also have Stan. Stan is also on the line. Stan, he's just out there in the Illinois area. He'll catch you. You won't catch him, but he'll catch you. So we appreciate you joining the show, everybody out there. Until next time, y'all, I am your boy Mizzle to the Jizzle. You'll be watching Radio 22's Talk 22. Can't even spit it out. Appreciate you for joining us. Till next time, y'all. Peace.